All right, everybody, we're going to move over to the flip. Today, we're going to be talking TSMC and Intel potentially. If it wasn't the information, I would say this is probably happening. But the information says, and it's starting to get shared more broadly, that TSMC is going to take a stake, or they're going to share IP, and Intel and TSMC are going to go together. Good thing or bad thing? Let's see who's going to take this topic. Let's start with who gets the good thing. I like that. I like being the positive.
Yeah, and remember, this is good for Intel, okay? That's what you've got to argue, buddy.
All right, I'll get argued it's good for Intel. Remember, everybody, we may or may not back this. We don't get a choice. We just got to talk about whatever side the coin comes up with. So, look, Intel has been a dumpster fire as it's come to its foundry business. And sure, it's got, a near production of 18A. And sure, 18A has got better back-end power. And sure, 18A is going to be the next generation of Intel's strategic foundry business, and it's going to be what ropes in all the big players. AWS and Microsoft are coming in. Broadcom probably come. NVIDIA's checking it out right now. Qualcomm's going to be building their future on Intel. We hear it. We see the rumors. But look, so far, all Intel has gotten is a few spare parts. They've gotten odds and ends, some network chips and specialty chips from companies like AWS and Microsoft. They have not won a wafer deal yet. Nobody at scale is taking them super seriously. They're all still, no matter how much TSMC raises their prices, they're still willing to send them over to TSMC. And yeah, tariffs could be a good thing for Intel if they could get their new foundries built and could actually come to mass production and maybe support the amount of demand that's going to be required. But is NVIDIA going to move over for 5 or 10% of their output? I mean, Intel's got a lot of work to do here. So a partnership with TSMC, of course, could totally break down all those walls. Every company we talk to, Pat, CEOs, presidents, heads of design for the fabless companies, all pretty much have told us at different points that they love TSMC. They trust them. There's no conflicts of interest. They're not worried about any IP leaking between the foundry business and the design business. They are all in on TSMC. Doesn't matter what the cost is. Plus, it's not an easy thing to do to just lift and shift from one company over to another. These processes aren't identical. There's work that has to be done there. So to go from a TSMC 2 or 3 over to 18A, it's not just flipping a switch. It's a major decision that these companies need to make. However, the confidence of TSMC coming in and saying, hey, we're sharing IP. We're building this stuff together. We're going to make this more streamlined and seamless as we move from node to node. And of course, for the entire world, it's a good thing because we know that TSMC bringing more of its IP here to the United States, not just with tariffs, not just with all the new trade policies, it's good for the world. So TSMC coming over and helping Intel get off the snide, giving confidence to the big fabless companies with high volumes of especially AI chips and PCs and smartphones is going to be the way. I simply don't see a situation in which Intel can do this on their own. They've tried, they've failed. They're in huge debt. It's been an absolute boat anchor to the company's stock and its performance. Lip-Bu is here. I actually think he was here to make this deal happen. That's what I think is going to happen, Pat. Intel, TSMC, a small investment because we can't lose control. But that small investment, that commitment of IP changes the game. It makes Intel Foundry a legitimate player. It speeds up the whole process, and it's good for the world.
Yeah, so Daniel, I think you're absolutely misguided. TSMC coming in and doing a 20% JV with Intel it's bad for Intel and it's bad for national security. So have you noticed that the amount of rumors and the veracity of the rumors is a direct correlation to the good news that's coming out of 18A and the potential for 18AP? I don't think that's a coincidence. I think people who are in the TSMC camp absolutely want to shoot the plane down just as it is about ready to take off. And the Intel Foundry business is ready to take off. I don't think anybody had any visions of grandeur of doing volume wafer agreements. They do have wafer agreements with Amazon. They have wafer agreements with Microsoft. They have wafer agreements with the DoD related to 18A. And everybody knew that 18A was just going to be the pipe cleaner for something high volume. and Intel has to prove 18A not only with its own products, which they just started risk production on 18A products, PTL, and once that goes, which it will, you'll then see that move to the foundry customers. And 18A had a year advantage, and TSMC started removing features from 2 nanometer to pull in that deficit to it looks like about 6 months. I wonder about IP theft. I mean, 18A is so good that like, does this increase the chance of 18A IP falling into somebody else's hands? And then what if what if TSMC has Intel IP, China invades Taiwan? Does that mean the Chinese now have 18A IP? So this could be an absolute national security threat here. The answer is not to have a foreign company come in and buy part of Intel and the foundry. The answer is to do what the Chinese have done and a lot of other countries, which is make much bigger investments. And by the way, Taiwan bankrolled TSMC for years, okay? And they're not going through all this hand-wringing of CHIPS Act being a giveaway at this point. The CHIPS Act, and this is where I get sideways with the current administration. Every single chip investment that states have made has been tax positive, meaning in Austin, in New York. There have been case studies written about, okay, there was some money given away and some tax abatements provided, but it ended up bringing so many people and so many companies into the area that it was tax positive. The tax base actually went up. So this notion, I think the answer here is to get our butts in gear and start writing bigger checks for the CHIPS Act, not as a giveaway, but as an investment. If the U.S. government wants to do an investment like they did in the auto industry when they were going bankrupt, I think that would be a good thing, and Intel could pay off those debts after 2030.